Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could remain standing and remember our men and women in the armed forces. Thank you. Before we do the first item, the public hearing on the budget, tentative budget, I need to read some remarks here about myself. First, we're in the process of working with our TV guy over here, Sean, for microphones and a sound system. We tried to fix the senior citizen sound system, but it's not working. And we should have our own anyway. So there'll be a mic for each person here, there'll be a mic for the attorney, and there'll be a stand-up mic for those that want to come up and ask a question. We'll put channel 23 in here, which I'm trying to get a handle on it. It's several thousands of dollars. Once the town fixes channel 23, then I'll move forward with cable and get that system in here. So I'm sure the microphones and all of that will come first before channel 23. A little different arrangement when it comes time for the public to speak, I would like you to come up. There's an X right here on the floor. That's where you would stand and face us and make your comment. Give your name and full address. That's nothing new. I have the gavel, and when it gets out of control, which I don't expect it to, I will adjourn the meeting. Once I adjourn the meeting and there's items on the agenda that aren't taken up yet, within 3 days of the meeting, meaning 3 days from today, I will announce the new date, and it'll be publicly announced in many different ways that the clerk does. That meeting will be done at Village Hall to finish the agenda. When you come up, state your name and address, and it happens to be on agenda items, state the agenda item that you want to make a comment about. If it turns out not to be an agenda item, then I will ask you to return to your seat and come up at the end of the meeting when it's public comment. All comments are no longer than 3 minutes. That's a long time. When I used to enforce this a little bit, I would let it go over. I don't think anyone will disagree with this, whether you like me or you don't like me. That doesn't matter. I think we can all agree on one thing. And maybe not, but I want to think we can. The meetings have been terrible. They're embarrassing. They're ugly. They're chaotic. To some people, believe it or not, they're frightening. I had that told to me. We have a lot of business, which if the meeting doesn't get adjourned early, I'm going to tell you about over here. A lot of business to take care of. There's things going on behind the scenes where people are calling the Attorney General's office, State Comptroller's office, FEMA, and the list goes on and on. What you need to know, what's important about that is nothing, there's nothing. There's nothing. We are either going to move forward or stay in the chaos. I can't stay in the chaos. I just can't. I am not here for competition. I am here, believe it or not, to tell you the truth. Whether it fits my opinion or your opinion, I can only tell you the truth. If anyone up here or in the audience thinks bickering helps you, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. public does not want to see us fighting. They want to see us working together. Whether we like each other or not, there's things we can do together. Good things, great things, to make Highland Falls much better than it is. I will not fall. I have never fallen. And there's one reason. Because the community, you, maybe not all of you, but the community in a whole have made me strong. Always have. They've always been there. There's a lot of good initiatives going on. Again, need to have them as a goal and work towards achieving that. Trying to elevate oneself at the cost of someone else is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. No more trashing Highland Falls, please. Stop complaining. Roll up your sleeves. Help us out. We can work. We actually can work together. Don't have to go out and have dinner tonight. Don't have to go over each other's house. Don't have to be best buddies. But we can work together. Now, I'm sorry, but I have to read this. I did it several meetings ago, and from tonight on, it's going to be adhered to. This is a resolution that unanimously was voted on with a yes. Unanimously with all trustees up here except Gary Phillips, who resigned, and now Pete Carroll. But Pete has told me today that he read it and he concurs with it, so it still stays unanimous. Whereas the Village Board of the Village of Highland Falls welcomes public comment and takes each and every relevant comment from the residents of Highland Falls serious. And whereas the Village Board welcomes public comment from constituents and others in an open and public forum. And whereas, in order to facilitate orderly and productive meetings whereby the essential business of the Village of Highland Falls is timely conducted in an efficient manner. And whereas public meetings during which members of the public threats are provided as adequate but not excessive amount of time to speak on the particular item, agenda item, or public issue in the civil matter enhanced of the conduct of the village business. Now therefore, be resolved that the Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees enacts the following policies for the conduct of the public meeting. I'm asking you to please listen to this, and on the back side of your agenda is some of these in a short way. The mayor, or in the absence the deputy mayor, shall be the presiding officer of the meetings and shall recognize speakers and yield the floor to them. If the mayor or the deputy mayor is absent, the attending trustee shall appoint a presiding officer for that meeting. Alternatively, the mayor may appoint a presiding officer for all or any one meeting. The presiding officer shall have the authority to end the meeting if either the board or the public fails to follow this policy or becomes unruly. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you, ma'am. The presiding officer shall have the authority to remove the members of the public if that person fails to follow this policy, becomes unruly, disrupts the meeting, or the insults or belittles anyone. Disruptive, argumentative, abusive, intolerant conduct by any board member shall likewise not be tolerated. The presiding officer shall have the authority to adjourn the meeting upon motion and vote if such behavior is exhibited. Attendees will not interrupt the mayor or any trustee during their reports. Comments from the public shall be allowed on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and set forth in the agenda. At the mayor's sole discretion, comments from the public or non-agenda topics may be allowed at the end of the meeting, time permitted. Speakers must step to the front of the room. Speakers must give their name, address, and organization affiliation, if any. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Speakers may not yield any remaining time to another speaker. All remarks must be addressed to the board as a body and not to an individual member of the board. Speakers will remain civil and courteous at all times. The village board will not tolerate discourteous speakers or speakers who degrade or otherwise make disparaging comments about anyone, including members of the Board of Trustees. The board will listen to the speakers with courtesy and without interruption, and will not engage with speakers for the purpose of rebuttal. The board, in its sole discretion, may respond to specific questions by the speaker, but will not use that as an opportunity to engage in rebuttal or argument. Written comments are welcome and will be entered into the record, provided, however, that they do not contain foul or disparaging language of any kind. That was unanimously voted on every village board member that sits up here. If anyone does not exhibit proper decorum for this meeting, I will ask them to. If they don't, the police department will ask you. That's to ask. And then it's going to be asked you to be removed. I don't think we'll ever get to that. I hope you would respect the police department if you don't respect me. It doesn't matter. I will adjourn the meeting when I see fit. Again, as I said, I think in the beginning, I'll schedule a meeting within 3 days to finish the agenda, and those meetings will be held at the Village Hall. Public hearing on the tentative 2024-2025. May I have a motion to open the tentative budget reading?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Mr. DeSalvo as our budget officer.
I don't know if everybody has a copy of the budget. I think there were some provided in the back. I'm just going to start on the second page. So the first page says, Village of Highland Falls. And the first page just talks about total appropriations, estimated revenues, total revenues per fund, tax calculation, total assessed to be raised by taxes, and the total taxable assessed value. All total for general fund, water fund,
Ted, you want one here?
sewer fund is a total of $8,702,509. And that's broken up into three parts, as I mentioned. General fund is $6,232,339. Water fund is $1,219,020. And the sewer fund is $1,251,150. The new tax rate for the tentative right now is $11.68 per thousand. That is a potential increase of 65 cents per thousand. On a $300,000 house, the estimated increase would be approximately $195 for the year. So going into the pages, general fund is first. Again, the first page is revenues. And there are several different revenues, starting with real property taxes. I'm just going to read the totals as we go through in each line. It'll be the total of for each description of the account. So I'm on page 1 of 8, if you're following along.
Nobody has them. There were none back there
Are there not copies?
at all.
Do we have copies of the budget? We have copies of the budget?
Here, take mine. Take this.
Well, there's like 30 people.
I can't, I'm not Jesus. I
30
can't make a
people.
loaf of bread here.
30 people.
You want this? You want it?
We all want it.
Say thank you.
Hang on.
Unbelievable.
Jim, what's the treasurer?
She's not here.
Could you
Oh,
continue?
did we invite her?
I'm the budget director, I'm the budget officer, so we're talking
Yeah,
about
but the treasurer used to be here.
the
And he was the
treasurer,
budget
and he was the budget officer.
Yeah, but the treasurer is now a full-time. We went from
Right.
paying 30,000 for a part-time to a 91,000 plus benefits treasurer. She should really be here.
Can you gotta get through this.
Okay, so, I don't know. Okay, so Board of Trustees, total budget line, and that includes salary, contractual grant writing is $37,642. Mayor's total, which is salary, contractual, $23,817. Treasurer's department, which consists of both the treasurer and the deputy treasurer, equipment, contractual, which includes audit, the total is $134,655. Budget, officer salary, which is no change from the previous year, actually reduction, is $2,500. Purchasing, total budget line is $58,260. Clerk's line is $150,000, which is a reduction from last year's budget. Attorney, total attorney fund is $100,000, and that's broken up in two parts. For the village attorney contractual, which is our village attorney that's appointed during reorganization, which is Elise, the budgeted amount is $50,000, and the village attorney for contractual for labor attorney is also $50,000. So I know there was a letter to the editor, technically that wasn't correct, because to date, we've only spent $96,000, and it's broken up in two parts. So you'll see that. Also, the budget's available online as well. Engineer, total $75,000. Elections, we do have an election in March, so usually this is an item that's not always budgeted, but if we have an election coming up, there's an election for that, so there's $3,000 in that line. Buildings, this is a contractual operational plan of $75,000. Central garage, which is a portion of the DPW, the total amount is $97,520. Technical support, which is our IT services for the village, is $32,000. Unallocated insurance, which is basically all the insurance for the village. This would include general, this would include automobiles, trucks, different various areas of equipment, property, plant is $235,000. Municipal association dues, these range from everything from NICOM to any type of fees that we pay to be part of different associations in the state and county or county. It's no change, it's $2,500. Judgment and claims is $25,000. MTA tax, which is an unfunded mandate, is budgeted for $8,500. We have a contingency line amount in the budget for $75,000. Central communications is $330,000. The police department, this is for the entire police department for five full-time officers, additional part-time officers, contractual expenses, overtime, equipment is a total of $1,431,407. Traffic control budget line is $15,100. On-street parking is $19,980. Fire department, which includes equipment, contractual, truck room rental, insurance, and also cancer funding through the state is $163,856. It's a little different than the town budget. The town has a fire district, so it's a different line item on your town bill if you live in town. And the village, it's part of our budget. It's part of our year budget. Registrar salary is $1,000. Street administration, which is broken up into salary, some minor equipment, and some minor contractual, is $69,150. Street maintenance, which is the bulk of the DPW folks that work down there, which includes one full-timer, 3 part-timers, overtime, equipment and contractual, is $319,902. Street maintenance chips is a line item that's basically goes in and out every year based upon what the state gives us for chips. Chips is through New York State for roads, gets passed by the both houses of the Assembly and Senate for New York State, so we budget $25,000. Snow removal, we budgeted $113,800, which is, you know, I could see why it would sound silly based upon this year's snow falling out of the sky, but the only difference really in the budget line from 23-24 to 24-25 is that we are going to buy a new sander for one of the trucks. Street lighting is the street lights on Main Street. We budget $85,000 for that. Sidewalks is contractual and equipment, which is minor sidewalk repair, has been reduced just because we got the $4.5 million, which will hopefully in the future will be addressing any type of sidewalk issues with some of those funds. Parks, budget amount was $67,000. Beautification was a reduction from last year to $25,000, which is breakup of between Main Street revitalization and beautification contractual expenses. Youth program stayed the same at $5,000. Historian is $1,000. Celebrations was reduced to $10,000. Senior Citizen Center stayed the same as last year at $15,000. Storm stewards, we had a little bit of an increase in that, just based upon some of the MS4 requirements that are coming down from the state. Again, these are mandates that come from the state, and we don't get funding for it. So we'll do the best we can with that, although we did do some major drainage work in the last couple of years in different parts of the community, so that will assist with some of those requirements from the state. Refuge and garbage contractual, this is usually the leaf debris that we collect and we have to dump. It's $5,000, no change from last year. Street cleaning, which is the street sweeper, which is basically a new piece of equipment within the last 5 years. And we just get, you know, new brooms and sweeps for the vehicle. Benefits is broken up into state retirement, police and fire retirement, LoSAP, Social Security and Medicare, workman's compensation, unemployment insurance, health insurance. Total that we are getting from best estimates from the state and other agencies is total for that is $1,448,250. There was a decent increase in this line just based upon healthcare costs and some retirement costs. But I believe every municipality is feeling that. I know during the town's budget they had to deal with it too, so it's definitely something that hit us. We did find some savings in workers' compensation, which I believe is on the agenda tonight to try to go with a different carrier. We were able to save a significant amount of money, so we were able to reduce that in those line items. Bonding. These are serial bonds. The total bonding was $303,600, which was a change of $2,800 from last year's budget. Bond anticipation notes. And this is where, you know, we had some significant increases based upon two different things, mostly the drainage project in Ondero Park and also FEMA. So if I had to break them down percentage-wise, probably 60-40. The total expense for bond anticipation notes is $517,200. And just an update for the community, you know, as we do the work and we're getting reimbursed from FEMA, it appears that we're getting 87.5 cents on the dollar, although I cannot get anything officially in writing from anyone from the state or Fed saying that that's what we'll get going forward. So it's a very precarious situation to be in, because technically you should be budgeting that you know you're going to get 75 cents on the dollar. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 if you don't budget accordingly and then you run short as you continue to do projects, which, you know, we have a bunch of projects scheduled to start very soon that are FEMA related. So that was the total for the bond anticipation notes. The last page is the reserve accounts, which we try to do every year. Last year, we were able to put away $145,000 to our reserve accounts. This year, I'm recommending the tentative budget is to recommend to do $70,000, and for a couple different reasons. One, we're doing a lot better on interest on the money we do have in the reserve, which I'll get into. And also, you know, we don't have equipment to worry about at the water plant. It's provided by the company that the board hired to run the water plant. So the total appropriations for the general fund, again, is $6,232,339. The budget requested amount was $7,019,113, so there was a significant reduction in requested versus the tentative. So moving on to the water fund. The water fund, the 2024-2025 meter sales, there is an increase in the water meter sales. This is going to be primarily due to two different factors. One, FEMA-related ban expenses, which I'll get into as I get into the budget, and also the water improvements that we are making. The recommendation right now for the tentative budget is for a $75 increase for the year on the initial cost on your water bill. So right now, your initial cost on your water bill is $95 for the first 5,000 gallons. It would be an additional $37.50 twice for the year, but we are tentatively looking at increasing your minimum gallonage from 5,000 to 7,500. So in other words, you're instead of $95 being your initial cost on your bill, it would be $132.50, but you get an extra 2,500 gallons of water. The goal is just for folks to be able to budget, or folks that are single or you know, elderly, that they usually don't use that much per what we've seen, and they can budget accordingly the best way. Again, this is just tentative. We're still we couldn't work on more on the budget until after we have the public hearing. So appropriations for water. Engineer, we budget $25,000. We pay school taxes on the Bog Meadow property, which is where our reservoir is. We budgeted $44,000. We have a contingency for the water plant of $60,000. Water administration contractual / grant writing is $23,000. Purification and filtration. As I brought up during the budget meetings, there's a little change to this. The total for total purification and filtration is $167,270, which is a large reduction from last year's budget because the money for the folks who run the operations just is in a different spot. So there was a reduction in this section for purification and filtration, and you'll see it on the next one, which is transmission and distribution. Transmission and distribution is a total of $420,750, broken up into equipment and contractual. Benefits, there is no state retirement, there is no state social security, there is no workman's comp. The only health insurance that we have budgeted for in the water plant is for the 2 employees that retired. We still have to pay their health insurance. Serial bonds was basically the same from last year. Last year was $78,355. This fiscal year it'll be $79,000. Bond anticipation notes. Again, this is new because we do have the water lines going in and on the Ondiora, and we also have FEMA. Again, I'd probably say it's maybe 60-40, and the total is $255,000. Vehicle reserve, there was none. Interfund transfers, this is money that the water fund, and you'll also see it in the sewer fund, pays back to general based upon the work that is done in Village Hall, preparing the bills, you know, any time spent on collecting bill payments, data entry, et cetera, et cetera. So that is an interfund transfer going back from water to general. So that's $65,000. Total appropriations for the 24-25 tentative budget is $1,219,020. So sewer fund. There is a proposed for no increase into sewer, so the bill would remain the same, obviously based upon your usage. So sewer rents did go up a little bit, and that's only because we are very conservative with what we budget for revenues, so that we were able to increase that a little bit from last year. The adopted revenues for sewer rents was $945,000, and this year we are estimating $950,000 comes in for that. Along with interest and penalties, sewer rents, other governments, and interfund transfers from capital. Total revenues were $1,016,150, and total appropriations, again, $1,251,150. And it should be noted that both in water and in sewer, we are using some fund balance, which is taxpayer money that's in the accounts that gets generated through savings that we're passing back on to you. That's the way we can do it. Same with general. And I'll go over the fund balance and how much we're using in each fund. Engineer, total cost $5,000. Contingency for sewer is $40,000. Sewer administration contractual grant writing, $23,000. Sanitation sewers, which is salary, equipment, contractual. Actually, there's nothing in for salary, but $77,200. Sewer treatment, salary is $219,000. That covers 3 full-time employees that we have down at the sewer plant, and 1 part-timer. We have salary and overtime for the sewer plant. Both water and sewer is a 7-day operation. We don't have to worry about overtime at the water side because we do have a company that does it. Equipment is $37,500. Contractual $297,150, which is total for sewer, which is $573,650. Benefits, state retirement, Social Security, workers' comp, health insurance, $185,300. Serial bonds is $28,000, which is basically a little less than last year. It's a couple $100 less than last year. And bond anticipation notes for sewer improvements, FEMA, $239 is the total. That covers the sewer lining and also FEMA costs. A little closer together, mostly 50-50 for sewer, because we are just starting to get into the sewer plant on some of the FEMA costs. So we're anticipating to continue doing upgrades there, and while we were already doing upgrades on some other portions, so but we're moving forward with that. And no suggestion for vehicle reserve for this year for sewer at this time. Interfund transfers are $80,000 from sewer to general. Again, there's a little more work with the sewer side, just based upon what needs to be done, and so that those monies go from sewer back to general. So again, total appropriations are $1,251,150. As I stated before, the fund balance totals for this year is $1,090,241, of which that consists of $700,000 from general, to general from fund balance. Water would be $155,241, and sewer is $235. And the fund balance comes from budget to budget years and savings, and we try to pass that on to the taxpayers as best we can. Again, this is an estimation to budget. Just to go over a few things for the folks. We did get some correspondence from the State Controller's Office in regards to fiscal stress. So dear Village of Highland Falls, the Office of State Controller uses the fiscal stress monitoring system to examine the annual financial information reported by your village. This analysis provides an objective assessment of the fiscal challenges facing individual local governments and school districts, identifying situations where corrective action may be needed. These 2023 scores are based on fiscal year end results. As of February 29, 2024, a review of your 2023 annual financial report, which is AFR, for your village has been completed. Your village's fiscal stress scores and designations are summarized below. So in 2021, our score was 3.3. In 2022, our score was 6.7. And in 2024, our score is 16.3. Even though there is an increase, there's no designation. So no designation means you are not in the radar of any issues with the State Controller's Office. That's for fiscal stress. For environmental stress, the score was in 2021, 16.7, in 2022, 3.3, and in 2023, 6.7. Again, no designation for those 3 years. Now, what does the State Controller look at?
Yeah.
It looks at anything from assigned and unassigned fund balance. It looks at gross expenditures. It looks at gross revenues. It looks at current liabilities. It looks at tax receivables. It looks at cash and investments. It looks at your short-term cash flow, your short-term cash flow to debt. It looks at personal service and employee benefits. It looks at your debt service, and it looks at current refunding bond proceeds. So it looks at a lot of different stuff, and a lot of different municipalities get looked at. I don't know exactly how they pick the municipalities. Maybe if somebody calls, they look, or if they just, pick out of a pot. Every year they pick so many municipalities and they look at them. Just so the public also knows, just to talk about, talk about reserve funds. As I brought up at the meetings before, we have reserve funds for village hall repair, fire truck reserve, the big trucks, the engines, fire department truck reserve command vehicles, police department vehicle reserves, water, we do have some water equipment reserves, which I'm gonna make a recommendation to the board. Actually, I'm sorry, we already did it. We changed that fund. It used to be called water vehicle reserves, but we don't have vehicles up there anymore, so it's water equipment reserves. Sewer department vehicle reserves and DPW vehicle reserves. All total, we have approximately $811,000 in those different reserve accounts. One of the main accounts is the fire engine account. As we get closer to the end of this fiscal year, which is 23-24, we'll make budget transfers into this account for additional money that we budgeted for last year. We do that at the end of the year so that we make sure we get through the full fiscal year and we're in good shape to make those changes and make those transfers. And the last thing I just want to note that with the treasurer's help, myself, we have been doing a lot better with our interest rates. Everyone's taking advantage of the interest rates. So why shouldn't the municipality too? For calendar year to date, which again is from January to March, even though our fiscal year doesn't run that way. The banks run January to December. To date, so far for January, February, and March, we've earned $28,839 in interest. Just requesting higher interest rates where we do keep our funds. So hopefully they stay there. I don't have a crystal ball for interest rates. If I did, I might not be sitting here right now. But hopefully we continue to take advantage of the interest rates, and those are funds that hopefully as we continue through the year, as we get into next year's budget, we can say, hey, we were able to generate revenue with money we did have in deposit. So that's the presentation that I can give. If there's questions, I will definitely take them down and I'll respond at my time to respond, so we don't get into it back and forth.
Public comment?
My name's Pat Lake, out of Lights Avenue in Highland Falls. Maybe just a recommendation, next time we have the budget meeting, going over the budget that affects all of these people back here. We have, I don't know, maybe overhead projector with the numbers where we can see what you're talking about. Because Jim, I don't know what you were talking about. Nobody had anything to see what you were talking about.
Okay.
So, this recommendation.
Good. Yes.
Michael Joyce,
Address?
9 Riverview Road, Village of Highland Falls. From what I'm hearing, is that besides the wish list in this budget, it's basically the same as last year and the year before. And I feel because of the board's not being diligent with the village taxpayers' tax revenue, their hard-earned money, that you're placing the police department in a awkward position. These men and women risk their lives every day. But if you look at any budget, country's budget, town, village, this is one of the big expenditures on a budget. Because of manpower, overtime, and the assets that you need. By not being more diligent with taxpayer money, you're placing a wedge between the police department or the village of Highland Falls that's to protect these people. Because they're going to look at the budget and say, what's going on? It just boggles the mind. It really does, because there was a member of this board who was warning years ago that we have to be fiscally responsible, that this day would come, and it is now upon us. That this talk of raising property taxes, water taxes, because we have this mounting debt. We're in the hole. Now, yes, we went through a serious storm, and it was tragic for some people. And yes, there's got to be upgrades to water, sewer, all of that. But you put that in the planning. You plan for that. You don't wait till it happens and then, oh, saving grace, we'll raise taxes. So we'll put the burden on these hard-working people again.
Mike, you gotta turn this way.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to.
It's gonna take use to getting used to.
Well, yeah, stand
it.
on.
I made it big for you.
Thank you. So, it just begs the question that this budget, like I said, besides the wish list, is basically the same as last year and the year before. And the taxes, to what I feel, that's going to be incurred, that the increased taxes is just going to pay debt that should have been taken care of decades ago, or planned for.
Mike, you got 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. How do I get that back to zero? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Good evening, my name is Keith Byron, 263 Route 17K, Newburgh, New York. I'm an attorney. I represent the dispatchers unit. And I'm here because I was advised that the board is considering eliminating the dispatchers and transferring the duties to either 911 or other village employees. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, dispatchers are a separate unit. And if you transfer those duties to non-unit employees, that's a violation of the New York State Taylor law. And I'm sure the village is aware of that since this was tried, I believe, in 2017. A charge was filed to protect those jobs, and ultimately, the jobs were saved. I'm sure all of you have done your homework on the dispatchers, but I was provided several pages, single-spaced, of duties that these individuals perform. And by way of example, why is it 3 pages? Because the year I have, there were approximately 15,000 calls, of which the records would show somewhere around 8% were emergency calls. These are the calls that would actually be handled by 911. The rest of the calls are your local dispatchers dealing with your local citizens on their local problems. Seniors, senior welfare checks, alarms going off, and just general, it is the point of contact between the government and your citizens. And as I said, you know, if there are that many duties, and there truly are, they're gonna be done. And if you're gonna do them, you're either gonna try to have the police do it, which means that they won't be policing, they'll be doing that, or you're gonna try to find some other employees to do it, and then they won't be doing their duties, or you'll hire somebody else to do it, in which case, I don't know where you're getting any savings. So I would ask that you seriously consider the ramifications of eliminating the dispatchers and reconsider it if you've already made that determination. Thank you.
Sure, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name,
Well, my name is Keith Byron.
Keith Byron. And
Yeah.
did you come here invited by the mayor and Mr. DeSalvo?
Honestly,
I was,
Was he invited? Yes?
I'm sorry, was I invited?
Yes,
Yes, I was invited.
yes, by the mayor and Mr. DeSalvo.
I just let them.
No,
Were-
I mean, I don't know if that's relevant.
So I appreciate your comments. I
Okay,
didn't
I'm just
invite you,
wondering.
but I'm
Okay,
certainly
so-
glad to meet you and listen to
Yeah.
you.
But
And you are exactly
you're not
3 minutes. Thank you.
Sorry, sir, I'm just asking, I'm being respectful, I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
this is a public hearing for the residents of Highland Falls. I appreciate you coming up, it's not an issue to me, I was just wondering who invited you to come, and how did you even know?
Thank you, sir. Okay. And yes,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Evening, Merv Lipsy, Howard Falls, 107 North Avenue. Good evening over there.
But if you were a little long-winded, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds more.
You got
Go.
it, you got it. So, here we are at budget time. I've sat with, I was a town board member, I was a village board member. Going back to prior years, I know that the town board's always met their 2% cap. I know the village board has always met their 2% cap. That's been the nature of the beast to do that, and that's always been good for the taxpayers here in the community. On July 9th, that's when we got hit by the storm. I am a homeowner that well over $100,000, I had no funding from the state or FEMA or anything, that's cost me. I'll be very, very honest with you, during the storm and prior months after the storm, I was extremely nervous about what's going to happen with the taxes here in the community. I could not imagine the situation in trying to put this together. For the town put their budget together. I consider it as a resident of the town of Highlands a good budget. That's what they put together. I was questionable about the village. I was. I drove around, I looked at the damage. There's a lot of damage in the village of Highland Falls. Again, the budget, and just to talk real brief about the police department, we have a great police department here. Leave them alone. Plain and simple, okay? Please. But when we talk about the budget, we're talking only about the budget. We're not talking about the storm. The storm is what, in my opinion, has increased these taxes. In my opinion, it is. The same as it has done with the town, and as the school comes around the corner, I'm sure they're going to have an increase. So I just want to say, as a taxpayer here in this community, I appreciate the numbers that I see right now. I thought we were going to hear 15, 16%. I honestly thought that's what the taxes were going to be. When I heard the number of what it's going to be, my first thing that I said was, how do they do that? Okay, so that's my feeling on that. We're gonna continue our services as I see. A couple rates are going up. Everything is going up. But for me, again, as a homeowner, damaged my home and everything else, the money that I put out, I'm shocked, number one, at your budget. And I was really surprised. I thought it was gonna be well over. So I can look at all of you, and I know you've all done hard work on this, and I thank you.
Thank you, Merle.
Okay?
Okay, Pat. Okay.
I know the X was there, but I really have an issue with my back to the people. So is this okay? Because I'm not going to face camera.
No, we gotta do that, that's the new, we're doing.
Okay, I just don't want to put my back to the people.
Yeah,
Couple quick things. Parks, park equipment, mowing. For the parks, what's the 45,000 for? And the mowing, I know we contracted out mowing, but we have purchased new mowers and all other equipment. Why aren't we doing the mowing ourselves and saving that money? And anything under parks, including the senior citizen center, should be under the town budget, not the village budget, because it's town events. These are not village-only action. And everyone, including the town rec, is the main user of our parks. So the villagers are carrying the burden for a lot more than they should. And they've been doing it for 50 years.
You're right.
And that, well, that needs to be worked out with town, where we're not paying that all the time. Central garage salary. What is the central garage salary? Anyone? Anyone? No? Interesting. Beautification. Up a little bit more than I'm thinking. Celebrations. We're adding more money tonight. Again, if it's for 4th of July, celebrations is a town event, not a village event. We shouldn't be bearing the burden of the entire town when there's another half taxpayers. That's why Fort Montgomery has great tax numbers, because they're not paying for half the things they're supposed to pay for. That's an issue. The report you gave on stress, you said it doesn't look bad because they didn't put a thing on it, but yet the numbers keep increasing, but you didn't explain what the numbers, the increase in the numbers meant. I don't know if you don't know what it is, but that's something I would like an answer to, why it went from 3 to 6 to 16. 800,000 total in our reserve funds, in my opinion, is very low. Is very low for all the reserve funds. I didn't say you said it was high. I'm saying
No, I'm making notes.
I say it's low. Trustee grant writing, $10,000. Who's getting that money? Trustee grant money, not grant money, that we're bringing in a grant writer, but for trustee grant writing, which means the trustee getting paid for that? $91,000 for a treasurer? I thought that was 30 several years ago. I gotta check, I'm checking that myself, I just saw that tonight. I'll be checking that, I'm questioning that, if you can look for it, I'd really appreciate it. 3 times the amount is a little bit for me. Gifts and donations. Who are we giving gifts and donations to? The huge change in the engineering numbers is concerning. Celebrations, again, is just, I have it noted there, pay for town events, engineer, I'll be quick as I can. Element, oh, no, okay, we're not doing that. I have a couple others, we're doing comments at the end too, right?
Yeah, I didn't look, you're way over, thank you.
I didn't think I was, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, that's okay, no.
As I walk away,
Yeah,
as far as the dispatch, I'm not for or against it, but I know people are saying so many groups are for, or so many towns and communities use a local dispatch, they do not. If you actually search
okay.
all towns and
Anyone else on
villages,
public comment?
I'll
Yeah,
do it at the
go
end,
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. That's all right. You go ahead. Do me a favor.
You want me to stand forward?
No, you're looking. You're okay, you're on camera.
Address?
In terms of the police,
Name and address?
Give me your name and address.
Bonnie Snow, Highland, Fort Putnam, excuse me, Highland Falls, New York. As a former assistant district attorney, I'm always going to be for the police. They're my brothers, and the only brothers I like more are my sisters in blue. And they know me very well because I call them several times. But I have a little problem, and that problem is financial. Now, I'm like everyone else. I lost $10,000 in the flood. I lost another $10,000 when I broke my back, and I lost another $5,500 when a sewer pipe broke. And I'm not any different than anybody else in Highland Falls. Now, so my being for dispatch really depends a lot on you guys, and I love you guys, and I respect you guys. And I appreciate the fact that you cut out certain things and brought 7 down to 6.6. But I also know that the way you make your budget is to try to plan for extremities, and I know that. But the problem is that it's not right now. And I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for the 200 or 300 people or 400 people that voted to keep the village a village and that voted to keep dispatch on. The problem with the budget getting high is not that you're doing a horrible job, but that people are having trouble now affording it. And what will happen is in 2 years, when they vote again for the village, people will belly flop and they'll vote against the village. And to put the nail in the casket of the village, you've been fighting for the village for 25 years. And to all of a sudden have people belly flop on that issue, wow, it would be a tragedy. Because, and I'm not like Dr. Guerrero, I don't want to cut things just to cut. I'm very for the village. I always feel that Dr. Guerrero, and I may be wrong, I always feel that you think of West Point, and that West Point is behind you. And I think in another 50, 75 years, you own 3 huge properties in this village, West Point does. In another 75 years, I think they're going to own everything. And it'll be even easier for them to own everything if this village becomes a hamlet. And people will vote it a hamlet if they can't afford it anymore. And it's not food. It's like our health insurance and our medications are so expensive. I mean, I feel like I'm paying for everybody's health insurance and I'm having trouble with my own health insurance. So I am respectfully asking you, look through. I'm not as smart as Pat Flynn. I can't give you numbers. But I know that I just got a new job with a law firm. I'll be working till I'm dead. You know, I'll be 100 years old and I'll be working because of the way things are going. But if you guys don't look things over, I just hate to see the nail go in the coffin of the village. And it will happen. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Somebody had their, yeah.
Good evening. Ron Malakat, 7 Carey Avenue, Highland Falls. I'm listening, I hear the same old, same old. You know, you look at last year's numbers, you massage it, this gets up, this gets down, it's all the same old, same old. I mean, our community and Fort Montgomery was really hit hard with this storm. And we look for our elected officials to make the hard decisions, and I don't see any hard decisions being made out of this board on how to control the debt, how to invest in this community. We need fire trucks, we need equipment that makes the employees more efficient, and we're not investing in any of that. Our debt is getting too high, and you know, if the dispatch community can hire an attorney to come in and speak for them, I mean that's a little outrageous. And if that money is taken away, if that allocation is taken away, the dispatch service, let's go with County 911. Let's see what happens. Half that half of that savings can be put towards lowering the debt, the other half can be put into investing in the community. I've attended these meetings a lot. I ask questions about the police statistics, and